Musical musings, musical musings, musical musings, musical musings.
Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the latest episode of Musical Musings, airing every Wednesday at 1 p.m. This program is broadcast to you from Rajamachan University of Technology, Peranakan, and I will be bringing this program to you in two parts. For the first part, I will introduce an artist and a song to you. We'll talk a little bit about the artist, their background, some of their history. And then for the song, we'll talk about a little bit about the background of the song as well. And we will also discuss the main themes of the song. In other words, what it's all about. Then we will go ahead and listen to the song. And in the second half of our program, we will analyze the lyrics. We will especially take a look at anything that's difficult, like any difficult vocabulary, slang, idioms, anything like that that may be hard to understand. All right, let's get to the show.
Musical musings, musical musings, musical musings, musical musings.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Gary Gray, and I am your host for Musical Musings. I am an American English teacher here at Rajamachan University of Technology, Peranakan. I've been teaching here for about 8.5 years. And as I mention often in this program, I do like to incorporate music into my classroom sometimes. Why do we do that? Because if you're just following through a textbook, which we do have a textbook for our basic English courses, if you just follow through the textbook, you don't tend to learn the communication side of the language. What I mean by that is that, you know, we use a lot of idioms, slang, something called colloquialisms, which is kind of just the way we say something. You don't really learn much of that out of textbooks, and that's very important in communication. That's what I was talking about when I say communicative language, communications. You don't really learn a lot of that in the textbook. And it's important to know if you want to communicate. And isn't that why you're studying a foreign language? So, how do you get that? How do you get that? Those kind of slang terms, the idioms, sayings, how do you get all that? Well, one way to do that is through popular culture, movies, television programs, and music. Now, movies are a little hard to do in the classroom because they take up too much time. I do that occasionally. In fact, as I record this, I have a class this afternoon, and we're going to do that in this afternoon's class. But it's a rare thing that I do in the class. It just takes too much time. We do have real things that we have to cover in the classroom, so we can't just be watching movies all the time. But music is easy. It's short. You listen to a song, okay? And that's why we have this program here, Musical Musings. We will listen to a song, and we will go over the lyrics of the song. And hopefully within that song, there will be some slang, some idioms that we can talk about, and I can explain to you. Now, I will be honest, sometimes we just pick a song because it's a good song. It's kind of what I did here today, this week. So, are there going to be any slang terms here? Are there going to be any idioms here? We'll have to see. But we don't always get them. There's usually at least one or two in each song, of course, but not all the time. And sometimes I will pick a song because it has a lot of that type of terminology, whether it's an idiom, slang, difficult vocabulary, whatever it is. Sometimes I will pick a song specifically for that, but I also do like to just pick good songs sometimes, and that's what I've done today. Those of you familiar with this program will know that I often pick older songs. I do that for two reasons. Number one, if it's a more recent song, a lot of folks in the audience might be familiar with it. A lot of my students do listen to some Western music. Not a lot. A lot of them like Thai music. K-pop is pretty popular, so a lot of them like Korean music. But, some of the top artists, I was going to say Beyonce, but even she's starting to get a little older. Taylor Swift, same thing there, but they're still quite popular. So those type of artists, I do have a lot of students that listen to them, and so you might already be familiar with their songs. I don't really want to go over a song that people are familiar with, because if they're already familiar with it, they may also know those words. So I'm not helping anyone. I'm not helping anyone out. If they already know what the words mean, that's the point of this show. So I like to introduce new music to people. It's also a little bit more fun to do that because maybe people listening and watching will hear some new music that they decide that they like. So maybe I will open them up to some new things. Who knows? Who knows? I know we don't have 10 million listeners or viewers every episode, but you never know. We have gotten a couple comments on our show, mostly positive, and so obviously a few people out there are watching, so who knows? Maybe I will introduce you to some new music that you like. So for today, our song is going to be the song In the Air Tonight. Sometimes it's just called In the Air. I go by the title In the Air Tonight by Phil Collins. Now, Phil Collins is interesting because you probably have heard me mention his name on here before, for two reasons. First of all, we have sort of done him already. Sort of. We did the band Genesis, for which Phil Collins was the lead singer. However, Phil Collins also is a solo artist, and so that's what we're doing today. This is a song by him as a solo artist. Now, it's a little weird for someone like Phil Collins to be a solo artist and be in a band at the same time. The reason I say that is because a lot of solo artists do have a backing band behind them, yes. But some don't. If they play like acoustic guitar or something, they can just get on the stage and play guitar and sing by themselves. There are plenty of folk artists that perform that way, for example. But one of the other things I've mentioned about Phil Collins is that he's this rare person who is the lead singer in a band and he's the drummer. He's certainly not the only one. The only drummer that sings. In fact, a lot of drummers will sing. They just won't be the lead. But, for example, in Queen, their drummer, he's not their normal lead singer. Of course, Freddie Mercury usually is. He's their big name. But he can be a lead singer. And on at least a couple of their songs, he is the lead singer. So he can sing. So it's not unique. Phil Collins isn't the only one that does this, but it's uncommon. And so the reason I say it's weird is because since he's the drummer, obviously he's not going to be one of these people who can, as a solo performer, just be him and his instrument, like it can be for someone that plays guitar. So he has to have a band with him. That's why I say it's a little bit weird. Because as a solo artist, he's still with a band. And then he performs with the band Genesis, and he's their lead singer. It's kind of like, okay, what's the difference there? Obviously, it's going to be different band members, but and I get it that there is a difference. When you're with the band Genesis, the focus may be sometimes on the other performers. As a solo artist, those other instrument players are really just there to back you up, to provide the backing music. So I get it. It's just a little bit weird to be a drummer and lead singer with a band and then be a solo artist which needs a backing band. But that's That's him. That's Phil Collins. And so we're going to do him solo today with In the Air Tonight. All right, so a little bit about Phil Collins. I probably have told you a little bit about him already in our previous episode with Genesis, since he is their lead singer. But he's British, born in 1951. And he did start with Genesis in 1970. I should point out that he started performing before then, but you can do the math and you can see that it wasn't long before then, because that he would have only been 19 in 1970. So it was one of his first things that he did. But he was actually a professional musician before he was with Genesis, just not for very long. So he started with Genesis in 1970. And then in the early 1980s is when he went solo. But as I mentioned, he was doing both at the same time. I believe he left Genesis. I don't have this in my notes. I usually take some notes so I don't forget anything. But I believe it was 1985. But they did reunite several times for additional albums, tours, whatever. And he does still perform today. He did take a break for a few years, I think in the 2000 teens, like the early to mid-2000s. I think it was like 2010 to 2015, something like that. Again, I didn't write that in my notes, but it was somewhere around then. He did take a break then when he wasn't performing. But he performs now still. He's still performing now, obviously. Starting to get a little old, born in 1951, as I told you, so he is about 74. So, getting a little old, but he does still perform. And one thing that kind of amazed me when I was doing a little bit of my research here is that he had 16 top 20 hits in the U.S. 16. And I'm just talking about him as a solo performer. This does not include Genesis. I was actually shocked by that when I looked it up. I knew he had several. I'm familiar with quite a bit of his music. I'm not really a big Phil Collins fan, so I don't follow him that closely. But some of his songs I like. I like the song we did with him when he was with Genesis, the song we did on here. That's kind of a really funky song, especially if you watch the video. The music is funky, but the video is weird. It's great. Some people don't like it because they think it's too weird, but I think it's great. That's Land of Confusion by Genesis. So I certainly do like some of Phil Collins' songs. I like this song by him. The song is a little bit famous for, I can't even call it a drum solo. It's really just a kind of a transition riff from one part of the song to another part of the song. But it's really quite cool and catchy. And when people hear it, they're like, oh, that's awesome. And of course, Phil Collins, like I said, is the drummer. So he's singing the song, but he also does that really cool riff in this song. So this, to me, is probably one of my favorite songs by him. It's actually one of the lower of his top hits. I said he had 16. Like I said, that shocked me. I know he had several, because I can think of them off the top of my head, because he was really popular. And as I said, I wasn't even a big Phil Collins fan, and I know a bunch of his hits. So I knew they had to be really popular. So I expected to see a lot of hits in the top 100. But 16 in the top 20? Wow, that's a lot. I think that might be more than almost anyone we've done on this show. Obviously, some of the most prolific bands have probably had more than that. And we have done some of them before, so there's probably a few people out there with more. But this is right up there. 16 top 20 hits. And like I said, today's that we're doing, In the Air Tonight, is one of the lower ones. It peaked at number 19. He's got a whole bunch that were actually number 1. We'll mention a few of them later. We're not even going to mention them all. But at the end of our program, I do like to give you some advice on some other songs that you can listen to from the artist. We'll go over some more of his songs later. But this one came out in 1981, and like I said, it got to 19 on the chart. The chart is like the list of the top songs, and they have a list of 100. It's done by the company Billboard, who also has a magazine, or had. I don't know if they still produce the magazine. They still keep the list. They still do the list. I'm sure they've had to change it over the years because now people listen a different way, so they have to somehow get all the access to the statistics for streaming, for example, which didn't exist back in the 1980s. So I'm sure they have to change how they do it, but they still have their list. So it's the company's Billboard that keeps that list. And again, this was 19. This got to 19 in 1981. It was from the album Face Value. Now, I will tell you that the lyrics are a little hard to understand. For example, he uses the lyric repeatedly, "I've been waiting for this moment for all my life." That sounds like it should be a good thing, right? You've been waiting for something your whole life. It's finally here. Yes, this is the moment I've been waiting for. This is actually, and some of the other lyrics you can tell, but this is actually supposed to be a song about anger, pain, frustration, sadness, all of those sorts of emotions. This is supposed to be a very negative song because he wrote it after his breakup with his first wife, after his marriage failed. Now, okay, that's fine. So we know what it's about. Should be easy. It really isn't. And one of the reasons is because even Phil Collins himself came out and said in an interview that he doesn't know what this song is about. It's really just supposed to reflect those emotions. So, as we go through these lyrics in the second half of our program, just remember that. I may not be able to tell you exactly what each line is supposed to mean, because even Phil Collins, the guy that wrote the song, he was just kind of putting words on a paper. And some of it, you can tell, is supposed to be anger or sadness, like the line, "It's all been a pack of lies." Okay. That's a little bit of an idiom. Pack of lies? What does that mean? I'll explain that when we get to the lyrics, but it's negative. It's not a good thing. As you can imagine, you probably do know what the word lie means. It's just pack of lies, which maybe you don't understand. But it includes the word lies. It's not a good thing. So there were some lines in here where clearly this is negative. It's clearly a negative song, but you don't. It's a little hard to interpret. So as we go through the lyrics, just remember that we may not understand every single thing here, because even the guy that wrote the song doesn't know what it's about. He was just writing words. And it's just supposed to be about anger, sadness, frustration, those sorts of things. All right, so let's get to the song. And make sure you listen for that little drum hit in there. It's right around the middle of the song somewhere. It's quick, but it's really cool. It's a really cool little drum riff. All right, so let's get to the song. As always, those of you joining on YouTube, we cannot embed the video because of copyright reasons. So please click on the link in the upper right, and you will see a link to the video. After the video plays, you can just jump back here for the second half of the program, where we will go through the lyrics. Anyone else out there, if you're listening on streaming or on the radio, obviously we're a radio station. We can play the music, and you're just listening, so you should be able to listen just fine. All right, let's get to the song.
Musical musings, musical musings, musical musings, musical musings.
Okay, welcome back, everyone. So that is a song about pain and anger. So let's just get right to the lyrics. I talked quite a bit there in the first half of the program, and the lyrics aren't too long. I have to print them out here in front of me to make sure I don't miss anything. And they are long. It's more than a page long, but a lot of it's just repeated. So there aren't a lot of lyrics here, so we should be able to go through this fairly quickly. So we start out the song with, "I can feel it coming in the air tonight." Okay, so what does he mean by that? I can feel it coming in the air tonight. When you say that you can feel something coming, you kind of know something's about to happen. And when you say you can feel it in the air, it kind of means the same thing. It's like it's usually something wrong. We're usually talking about something bad. It's like, you know how sometimes you're in a room and there's two people that have been fighting, but they're not fighting anymore. But you can just sense, you can just feel it, that something's wrong. Maybe it's the look on their face. Maybe it's, I don't know, there's just something. You just feel it. You just feel that there's this tension. So I can feel it coming in the air tonight. In other words, he feels something negative. So again, he may be talking about his marriage here. Once again, even Phil Collins said he doesn't know what the song's about. But it could be about that. Like he knows it's falling apart. He knows something bad is coming. He knows it's not working out. So I can feel it coming in the air tonight, O Lord. And I've been waiting for this moment for all my life. See, that's the line I mentioned earlier in the first half of the program, which seems a little weird. That's usually used for something good. But I don't know. Maybe he's just a negative person. So maybe he just knows it's not going to work out right from the beginning. And so this is what he expects, and this is what he's been waiting for. Some people are like that. They wait around for bad things. And I will point out, he has been married 3 times. So maybe. And I have heard rumors about him that he's not the nicest guy. I hope they're wrong. I don't know that. I don't know. Maybe he's wonderful. I have no idea. I've just with all the music stuff I do, I take in a lot of information. I'm not saying I'm the smartest person on music. I forget most of the information I've heard. So there's a lot of stuff I don't know. But in fact, I say some things on here that are incorrect. I try to do my research and make sure they're correct. But that's what I've heard. So maybe he's a negative person. I don't know. Maybe that's what that line means when he says, I've been waiting for this moment. Maybe he's been waiting for something bad. He's been just waiting for this marriage to fail. I don't know. I've been waiting for this moment for all my life, O Lord. Can you feel it coming in the air tonight? So now he's asking, like, whoever he's talking to, can you feel it? Can you sense the bad thing coming? So can you feel it coming in the air tonight, O Lord? All right, now we get to, I guess, the verse. There's really only like 2 verses here. Well, if you told me you were drowning, I would not lend a hand. Okay, that's negative. And I don't think there's anything there that's difficult to understand. Maybe about lending a hand. Lend means to give something to someone that they will give back, usually. It's not quite what this means here. It does mean to give someone your hand, yes, but you're helping them out of the water. And so he's saying, if you're drowning, I would not help you out of the water. I would let you drown. That's negative. Okay, so if you told me you were drowning, I would not lend a hand. I've seen your face before, my friend, but I don't know if you know who I am. So it seems like he's saying that she, again, is this about his marriage? It seems like he's saying that she doesn't even recognize who he is. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. It's a little hard to understand. But it says, I don't know if you know who I am. So he's talking to the other person, my friend. I've seen your face before, my friend. So he's seen him. And clearly, apparently, knows this person, or her, if he's talking to his wife. But that person, he's not sure if that person knows who he is. Okay? All right. Well, I was there, and I saw what you did. I saw it with my own 2 eyes. All right, so if you say you saw something with your own 2 eyes, it literally means that. It means that you witnessed it. It's not that someone told you this happened. It's not some rumor. Like, oh, did you hear what your wife did? If this is about his wife, we don't even know. But if this is about his wife, no. Someone didn't tell him. Like, for example, maybe she was cheating on him. I have no idea. I'm not going to say anything bad about his first wife either. I have no idea. I have no idea what happened. But that's kind of what it sounds like here, right? Because this is about the breakup of his marriage. Well, he said he doesn't know what it's about, but it was fueled by the breakup of his marriage. So he says, I saw what you did. I saw it with my own 2 eyes. It could be like he saw her cheating on him. Okay? So you can wipe off that grin. I know where you've been. It's all been a pack of lies. Okay, when you say wipe off that grin, a grin is a smile. When you tell someone to wipe it off, obviously you can't wipe off a grin. He means stop smiling. It's a fake smile. You're not fooling me. I know what's going on. He says, I know where you've been. So again, he knows she's going to see some other guy. Probably, I guess. I don't know. Like I said, even Phil Collins doesn't know what the song's about, but that's what it sounds like to me. Okay, so he knows where she's been. Then we get that line I mentioned earlier, it's all been a pack of lies. So a pack of lies just means a bunch of lies, a group of lies. So everything she's been saying has been lies. She's been lying to him. She's probably been cheating on him, and she's lying about it. Most people that cheat do lie about it, but it's still not good, right? It's still not good. So, okay, then we get the chorus. I can feel it coming in the air tonight, oh Lord. I've been waiting for this moment all my life, oh Lord. And then it repeats it. Then we get the second verse. Well, I remember, don't worry. How could I ever forget? It's the first time, the last time we ever met. Okay, well, obviously, the first time and the last time they ever met isn't the same meeting because, they were married. So, again, not everything here makes sense. But I think what he's saying is he remembers the first time, and he'll never forget that because it was wonderful. And he remembers the last time because this is when they're leaving each other because it's so painful. It's so terrible. So he'll never forget it. I think that's what he's saying. That he'll always remember. He will never forget the first time they met and the last time they met. One was amazing. One was terrible. Okay. But I know the reason why you keep your silence up. No, you don't fool me. Well, the hurt doesn't show, but the pain still grows. It's no stranger to you or me, and I can feel it coming in the air tonight. Okay, so I think this one is pretty easy, mostly, although there's one line where it seems a little weird. But he says, I know the reason why you keep your silence up. Keep your silence up, what does that mean? It just means stay silent. So she's not telling him what's going on. And that's why he says, no, you don't fool me. Because, again, we already know from the first verse, he's seen her doing whatever she's doing. The hurt doesn't show. In other words, he tries to act like everything's fine. He doesn't show. But the pain still grows. So it gets worse and worse and worse every time he sees her doing whatever she's doing. It's no stranger to you or me. That line to me is a little weird because now it sounds like he's being sympathetic to her as well, because he says, no stranger to you or me. Remember, the first verse said he wouldn't give her a hand if she were drowning. He'd let her die. So that line's a little weird. Why does he care if the pain is no stranger to her after what she's done, according to him? So it's no stranger to you or me, and I can feel it coming in the air tonight. So again, he feels the bad situation. And after that, he just really repeats that. I can feel it coming in the air tonight. I've been waiting for this moment for all my life. Repeat, 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 repeat. And that's the end of the song. So pretty simple. Maybe not as confusing as I expected. I didn't go over all of the lyrics before we started because I already kind of know the song. But maybe not as confusing as even Phil Collins makes it out to be. Most of it makes sense. There are a couple lines there, though, that seem a little bit weird. But yeah, it seems like it's about the breakup of his marriage. That's what it seems like it's about. And we do know he did at least say that that's what caused him to write the song. Okay, so that's In the Air Tonight by Phil Collins. Now, I always end by listing off some other songs by an artist if you want to go hear more of their music. So Phil Collins, as I mentioned, 16 hits in the top 20. So there are, and even more if you look at the full top 100, he's got even more. So way too many songs to list. So I'm just going to list a handful of them, the ones that I kind of know the best. These aren't necessarily going to be the ones that I like the most. There's one in here which I particularly don't like, but Most people did. It became popular. And so if a lot of people liked it, well, maybe you will. So I'll mention it. So I'm going to name about, I think, 6 or 7 here. Of course, we have In the Air Tonight, which is what we just did. But we have about 6 or 7 others here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 7 more here. You Can't Hurry Love. You Can't Hurry Love. I said that a little quickly. Sorry. You Can't Hurry Love. Against All Odds. Easy Lover. Sussudio, that's spelled Sussudio. And just so you know, that's the one I don't like. But it's very popular. People like it. One More Night. Don't Lose My Number. And Another Day in Paradise. Now, if I had to tell you of all of those, by the way, Against All Odds sometimes goes by another name, but that is officially its name. If I had to tell you which one of these is my favorite, well, I think In the Air Tonight is my favorite. That's why we did it. And again, as I mentioned before, I'm not a big Phil Collins fan, so none of these are like, wow, I love that song. It's so fantastic. No. But I do like some of his songs. Some of these are good. Yeah. Easy Lover's good. Against All Odds is good. In fact, that might be my second favorite. Or third, because, like I said, In the Air Tonight's probably my favorite. But then I think one of these other ones I would put above Against All Odds, and that's Another Day in Paradise. I do like that song. Okay, so that's it. That's Phil Collins, In the Air Tonight. So thank you for joining us for today's Musical Musings program. Any young people out there, I would encourage you to check out our university if you're getting ready to go to university sometime soon. Ratchamakan, University of Technology, Peranakan. All right, please stay with us and make sure you tune back in next week for another great song. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thank you.
Musical